Something that has been said by Martin Lloyd-Jones, has been said by many nouthetic counselors, has been said by many pastors is this: you need to preach the Scriptures to your heart and stop letting your heart preach to you. You need to preach the Scriptures to your mind and stop letting the vain thoughts of your mind preach to you. You just need to stop it. How does Satan kill? He doesn't run around with a machete. He lies. That's how he killed Adam and Eve and everyone else he's ever killed. He lies. How do you walk with joy? You believe what God said and not what the enemy said. You believe it. You believe it. But you're renewing your mind in the Word of God to such a degree that what God says becomes a greater reality to you than what you see in the mirror or what you see around you. Preach the Scriptures to your heart. Tell your heart to shut up. That's why if I go to a church and the preacher says, today I'm just going to share from what's in my heart, I walk out. I don't care what's in his heart. I don't want to know what's in his heart. I want to know what God has said. Now, joy. Joy. Where does joy come from? From most people I talk to, whether they admit it or not, their joy comes from their performance. And that's why their joy is never strong, unless they're deluded, self-righteous, and pharisaical. Listen, I'm not teaching antinomianism here. I have been devoted to Christ. I have suffered for Christ. I've risked my life for Christ, and I've lost much for Christ. With my own life and with a clear conscience, I can say that. I'm not teaching antinomianism or that obedience is not important. I'm just telling you that joy does not come from obedience. After 30-some years in the Scriptures, I understand that. Joy comes not from my performance, but God's. And that joy of God's perfect, impeccable performance, that joy is what energizes obedience. Basking in who God is and what He's done for you and how good it is. I mean, this is good. That produces obedience. Joy. I don't even know how to define that word except with some other words. Assurance, confidence, hope, gladness of heart. Gladness of heart. Merriment of heart. But stronger than that. Confidence, assurance, peace. Now, I've written here, when all that God is, all that God has done, and all that God will do is apprehended by you, is comprehended by you, is believed by you, it will produce a joy in you that is independent from everything but God. Your joy will not depend on circumstances. Your joy will not depend on performance. Your joy will depend on an immutable God who does all things perfectly. Do you see that? And that's where it must be. That's where it must come from. It must come from Him. Listen, Nehemiah 8:10. Do not be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. What does that mean? It's joy that comes from God. And I know what your brain's doing. Yeah, it comes from God if you're obedient. No, it comes from who God is. Who God is. What God has decreed. What He's done, what He will do. You grasp that. And it leads to joy. Now, another thing that I've said, written down here, if our joy is the result of faith in who God is and precedes obedience, then our joy will not be based on our performance, but on God's. You see the difference? Most people in their categories, their joy comes after their performance and is based upon it. Now, we all know that sin will bring sadness. I'm not saying it will not. And that obedience will bring joy. I'm not saying it's not. It does not. But what you have to understand is the whole of who you are and the great foundation of your joy must be His performance and not yours. Who He is and not who you are.